Hey guys, welcome to Box Office Addict, my weekly live stream podcast where I look at the weekend numbers at the box office. I look at expectations versus what the results actually were. I answer questions in the chat, and it's kind of a free-for-all movie discussion where I just talk about random stuff that's coming to into my head throughout the week. If this is your first Box Office Addict, the format's a little bit scattered, but we do have a structure. It kind of is controlled chaos, as I like to say. It's random. It's got a lot of spontaneity. It goes off on tangents. It goes off on these random little comedy bits or rants. But for the most part, we just talk about the box office because it's better to follow the numbers, not just to see if movies you like do well or perform poorly, but it also shows you the future of Hollywood and where things are going. And you'll notice what makes money is kind of what they're going to keep making, and what doesn't make money, well, that's probably going to end up on Netflix. And in the world we're in right now, where Disney predominantly Disney, pretty much Sony and Warner Brothers, let's say Universal, let's throw them in there. They're about all that's left. And anyone else that they're independent filmmakers, animators that don't want to work for Disney or Sony or Illumination, which is Universal, I think you're going to see a lot more stuff on the internet. That definitely isn't going to die. So, Box Office Addict, while it's so much about the present, what I always think about the show is that it's a little time capsule for people to see, sort of over these 37 weeks, a path to the future. I hope you guys like the new intro. I made that video the other day, and everybody was like, hey, why did you make this random video with the Sharkfoot music? And I said, well, I wanted to change the opening theme to Box Office Addict, because it's never had its own theme. A lot of the music I use is music I've used in my other videos from Sharkfoot. In particular, the main the main Pat theme, Please Rewind theme, that what used to be the Patriarchy theme, but it became the Please Rewind theme. So this track was one that he never uploaded on his main channel, so I just uploaded it and called it Carnival because I couldn't think of a better title than that. And this will be the new official music of Box Office Addict for those out there who've been watching for 37 weeks. What the hell is wrong with me? It's Easter weekend and I'm still doing this. God, let me tell you guys what went down. So last night, I find out that there's this local gas station, I won't reveal which one, but there's a chain of them, and they're having a competition, a contest, where they're making videos that the employees have to make to present to corporate of what they do best at that particular at that particular location. Now, this one was very proud of how they had handled their sale of alcohol and obeying the rules, how much alcohol you could take out, not serving intoxicated people when they come in, cutting it off at 2 a.m. So they get a hold of me because somebody who works there knows who I am, and they're like, hey, can you come make the video for us? Because most people are just doing it on their phones or they're just slapping it together, but you actually have some equipment because I have microphones and cameras and all that. And they said, why don't you, I edit, and they said, why don't you come down and do this for us? So I go, okay, what time? And they go, well, it'll have to be when we're not busy. And I go, when are you not busy? And they go, 4 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, ah. And then I was like, okay, I'll do it. So this morning, I guess, at 4 o'clock in the morning, I drove to this gas station and spent 2.5 hours blocking and staging with the manager of the store to put together this little video. And it's about 3 minutes long, but I was editing it last night, so I didn't get a lot of sleep. So I might be a little off today. I went to bed at like 9 o'clock, and then I had to wake up at 11:30 to go to an Easter thing with my family. So I had to drive about 40 minutes to go meet family for Easter, and then I had to drive back just exhausted, just because I don't do well without sleep. It's not like I haven't been up for a while, but sometimes I get in modes where I'm really hyper and I stay awake for a while. Then I have other times where I get really, 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 really sleepy, and that kind of caught up to me today. So I got back here, and that's been a little rough. So I'm running on very little sleep right now, and it's just giving me a lot of anxiety and stress. And I'm not trying to boogie here, where I'm like, oh, let me make a bunch of videos about me being fat and my wife leaving me and my life being horrible. I only get 300,000 hits per video. What am I going to do? I canceled Francis because, even though that was where I made most of my money. Oh, boogie. Anyway. Welcome to Box Office Addict. I'm so glad to see you guys back. So, crazy thing here. I actually have a sponsor this week. This isn't some Ben Shapiro, okay, folks, bit where I fake having a sponsorship with Blue Apron, Audible, or what have you. Did you say you went to Austin? No, I did not go to Austin. I'm in a completely different part of the country. No, I've been to Austin a lot when I lived in Texas, but no. I could see how maybe you got that mixed up. Like I said, I'm not going to be talking my best today. I am very, very exhausted. So anyway, I have a sponsor now, and this is not an April Fool's joke, although there might be a couple in here. You know, I try to avoid them myself, because the problem with April Fool's is once you stop being a little kid, it doesn't really work anymore unless somebody does something really extreme and really sells it. They have to really own something extreme, and at that point, it's just kind of ridiculous. I really don't want to. I don't want someone to go out of their way to be such a jerk just to prank me, and I'm all for pranks and all that, but April Fool's just doesn't really work. Possibly. Possibly. You unsubscribed from Boogie? Yeah, I'm thinking about it too. I don't watch his videos just because he's talking about how the notifications don't really show a lot of people what new videos are being uploaded. And that's true, and people do get unsubbed. That's happened to me plenty of times that people have been unsubbed from the channel. But the other thing is he doesn't seem to acknowledge the fact that so many of the videos he's making anymore is just him sitting at a camera complaining about his life. And it's like, well, dude, that's cool you want to do that. I'm not telling him what to do, but that's not really, for me, content that's worth watching. Is just somebody sitting there for, I don't know, 5 minutes complaining about how crappy their life is when they live in this house surrounded by memorabilia and action figures and pillows and all this crap they bought from YouTube money. And he's there just telling me, like, oh, what do I do with my life? It's like, all right, well, I'm sorry, dude. Maybe your wife left you because you're miserable all the time. I don't know. But I hope things work out for the guy. He seems like a very sweet guy. I'm not trying to talk trash, even though I guess I am, so I already put my foot in my mouth with that one. Anyway, though, actual sponsor this week. Who knew? Who knew, people, that such magical things could happen? So, a lot of you have been wanting merchandise on this channel going way back. We're talking over a year ago, and I never had merchandise. And here's the thing, I still don't. I don't have any t-shirts. I don't have any hats or beanies. I'd love to sell you guys Please Rewind beanies. But a friend of mine did get in touch with me with his own brand of clothing and shirts and such and that, and he asked me if I would do a little Ben Shapiro bit at first, but then we both agreed it would be much better if I just did it in my normal, Pat character and presented it to you guys that way. So we're going to start this episode, and I'm going to do the thing I hate the most, and that's interrupt the momentum of the show by talking about a sponsor, but just bear with me. We'll get through this together. I'll be gentle. Bite the pillow. I'll put some lube on there. You'll be good, people. I got this. Don't worry. We're in this together. Alright, guys. So, the link will be in the description, because the link itself it's a little too long for me to just say it. I mean, I could say it, but I have the link in the description of this video. So if you want this shirt, you can go buy it. It is only up until Friday. Alright, so you only have a few days to get this. Now, it is $21.99, and I know some of you out there don't have the money on that, and if you're not a Rick and Morty fan, maybe this isn't up your alley. But if you are, and you like the channel, and you'd like to help a friend of mine out, please go buy this shirt. Only, I'm just throwing it out there. It's been Swifty by Black Bart, and on the shirt you can see it says Black Bart right under it, and this is, I believe, parody versions of the characters. That's how you're able to get away with selling this stuff. Of the characters Rick and Morty, and it says Ben Swift. Is it Swifty? Did he say Swift? Oh, Ben Swifty. My bad. Thought I said Swift. Ben Swifty. Hi, my name's Ben Swifty, not Bean Swifty. God, that's old Rick and Morty stuff here. So anyway, you see the shirt. I actually kind of like that they kind of look like Tetsuo there. It looks like Akira Otomo artwork, but it's a pretty awesome shirt. There's the back of it. There's the front of it. So you have 4 days, 4 hours, 37 minutes, and 18 seconds, 17 seconds, 16 seconds, 15 seconds. There's a full design of the shirt. It comes in all different sizes. Girls and boys can wear this shirt. I think it's a pretty cool design. I like the black mixed with the white and the kind of grayish tones that are going on with it. But it's a pretty layered shirt. I think it would look really cool on you. He has several other shirts that I've seen he sent me, but this is the one that he wants me to put up here for right now. So, like I said, if you just want to help somebody out that's a friend of mine, or if you actually want this shirt genuinely, which I think a lot of you out there would, then please go on and buy it. It's very good material. I've gotten shirts from Teespring all the time, and they usually come out really great. And I know for a fact the person who designed these shirts is a really talented artist, really good guy, and there's no bullshit here. Basically, it is what it is. There's no false advertising. It's a shirt, and if you want the shirt, get it. And he even said, "Happy April Fool's Day, sock cucka," which, how could you go better than that? Sock cucka. So, if you guys want the shirt, that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to drag this on and on like everyone else does and sponsorships, but there you go. There's a t-shirt for you guys. Once again, the link is in the description. It's on teespring.com/ben-schwifty-by-blackbart #PID. But if that's too complicated for you, I'm sure if you just go on Teespring and enter in Black Bart, you should be able to find this shirt. I don't think it'll be that difficult. Howdy. Pat has been making fun of Ben Shapiro, but now he is Ben Shapiro. I know. I tried to fight it, and I've just become the thing that I used to mock. It's brutal. I look into the mirror, and I see... Am I who I am anymore? Am I wearing a mask of someone else? What has happened to me? It's Passover after all. No, Shapiro's trying to sell you overpriced food that you have to pay for all year. Shapiro's trying to sell you mattresses and sheets and all that crap. I'm just trying to give you a damn t-shirt that's at a fair price. You would pay more than that if you went to a clothing store in a mall or something. So, if you like the shirt, people get it. That's all I'm saying. If you don't like it, don't buy it. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Do what you want to do. It's no big deal. Looks all right. Oh, that's not nice. It's supposed to look fantastic, Craig. Jesus. Yep, blood, it's over for Pat. This is now corporate channel. I've sold out. Oh God, it eats my soul. What have I done? It's almost kind of like a movie that came out this weekend where a certain once great filmmaker cashes in on nostalgia. Of course, we're not at that point yet. What are you fighting for? You're obviously channeled Shapiro too often. No, it's become in me now. That's the problem. I'm trying to find a doctor to marry. Because unfortunately my girlfriend's not a doctor, and I can't throw that out there. Listen to him trying hard to sell this t-shirt. I'm trying so hard. You either die the golem or you live long enough to see yourself become a Shapiro. And everyone, I'm so glad Blood Money's here. He hasn't been able to join us over the last few weeks. The other side of the moderation team between him and Bathory, my two greats. Pat sold out, and neither Blood Money or I gonna get shit. No, of course you guys aren't. Don't you know how this works? Jesus Christ. I mean, seriously, it's if you guys ever thought that I was doing this for you to make money, when I don't even make any money, what's wrong with you? Go somewhere else. Have you seen RPO yet, or is it best to ignore member berries? I was going to see it, I just didn't get time. Unfortunately. I am going to see Ready Player One. It was legit just time. This weekend was so chaotic, I just had no time, especially today. I couldn't go. I wanted to go see it, but whatever. So anyway, the link's in the description once again. Here's the shirt. Hope you guys like it. And anyone who watches this later, just do what you want to do. So, thank you. I appreciate you guys indulging me in this little segue of time to talk about shirts and Rick and Morty shirts. But that's what we do here. I'm a corporate shill now. It's amazing. God, I love America. Alright, people. Let's get to the box office. Oh, God. Okay, so let's talk about Coco real quick, because last time I checked, Coco was at $757 million. Now Coco's at $780 million. So it had this huge jump. This movie might cross $800 million. This is a $200 to $225 million film with the budget and all that. But $780 million is great, even with that semi-disappointing domestic gross. And, this is a film that's made this much money and won 2 Academy Awards, so overall success. Now I'm going to go to the Deadline article here real quick, where they were covering the most profitable films of 2017. Now, oddly enough, they were pretty close to my top 10 box office films of 2017. Now, my choices were based off what I found to be impressive, not just financially with profits, but what I thought was impressive with the context of the kind of movie it was. So my choices just weren't, hey, I think this movie made the most money. It's, oh, I'm the most impressed that this made this much money. So, but this is more about what was the most profitable. So we see here, we can see some of the profits of 2017, and these are the official net profits according to the studio, obviously. So Split apparently brought the studio $68 million. That was net profit. Girls Trip made $66 million. Wonder made $55 million. Now here's where they screwed up. They did this with La La Land as well. I believe this is Lionsgate, or where was it? No, was it DC who did this? Was this Warner Brothers who released this? Here's the problem with this: is they just sell off a lot of the foreign distribution rights, so they don't try to make the money off the international market, and they keep the home video rentals and the domestic take. Well, so when they did that with La La Land made $150 million domestically. So they made $68 million off of it, but they didn't get any of that international box office. La La Land ended up making $450 million, so they lost all that money, and everyone else benefited. Same thing happened with Wonder. Wonder made $300 million worldwide, but because they didn't get the foreign box office from it, they didn't get the revenue from it, they sold that off, they didn't get that money. So they made $55 million where they could have made way more than that. They could have made $100 million, possibly around there. So that's kind of a mistake. Now, Baby Driver. I remember getting into an argument with a guy months ago that this movie, there's no way it made any profit despite making over $200 million worldwide on a $34 million budget. He claimed they spent $60 million marketing this film, because what else? And he claimed he was an expert in accounting and the insights of the industry. And he said, you'd have to prove to me with any kind of document that this movie made a profit. Well, if you still watch my videos, which I'm assuming you don't because we got in a big fight that day, here it is. Baby Driver made $51.5 million in profit. So there you go. Edgar Wright's first really, really profitable film. Also, we're not including back end here yet. There is a P&A, and they have to pay actors and directors and that. For instance, Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. While making a lot of money and a lot of profit for Sony, they paid The Rock, Kevin Hart, Jack Black tons of money after that film did well. But overall, you got to look at this. This is pretty cool. Baby Driver making $50 million. Wonder. These are movies that I like. I don't love, obviously, but not bad. Hey, man, there we go. Here's to supporting your corporate greed. Well, hey, thank you for the super chat, my friend. $20 is much appreciated. What a great holiday this is. I appreciate it so much. You could have asked a question. I would have answered a question for you or done something really stupid. Don't waste your super chats, people. It's okay to give me the money. I'll take it. Especially with tax season coming up. I can't wait to write this all down. I have not seen Isle of Dogs yet, but I did do that video on it, which I hope you guys really liked. Why not fund a bunch of smaller films for a lot of money instead of one film for a lot of money? Well, Blumhouse does that. Like, they did that with Get Out and Annabelle Creation and that. It just depends on how much profit you're trying to make. But I appreciate that so much, that super chat. That's so great. It's really great for you guys. From you guys, not for you guys. Okay. So, Get Out apparently made somewhere around $190 million in profit. Guardians of the Galaxy 2, well, Get Out must have made less than that. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 made $154 million. Now, here's the issue. The first Guardians of the Galaxy made a net profit of $200 million. So that's a pretty steep drop. Even though the film performed better worldwide, it cost more. And, of course, they had to pay people more in the back end. Thor Ragnarok did somewhere under $200 million. Spider-Man Homecoming, the net profit for Sony was $200 million. Wonder Woman was over $200 million. It was around $300 million. Now, I don't know how it didn't make more money than $300 million. I figured it would have made a profit of like $400 million, but they can't complain. Warner Brothers made $300 million. Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, well, it's $293. But I'm not clicking on them individually. I'm just going off memory. Jumanji at number 4 made $305 million. Now, that's a film with a $90 million budget that made $940 million worldwide. It should have made more profit than that. But The Rock got his money. Kevin Hart, Jack Black got their money. Once that movie did as well as it did, they all got paid huge checks. I think they said they paid out over $100 million to the cast and crew after it was done. So, but hey, they can't complain about having a movie that makes them $300 million. So that was Spider-Man Homecoming, gives Sony $500 million right there. So, not a bad year for Sony. Despicable Me 3, I think it was somewhere in the $350 million range. Illumination, I said that this film would make that kind of profit. Beauty and the Beast, which was my number one on my list, just because I think it was more impressive that it made money. Its profits were over that, very high in the 300 million range to around $400 million range. And number one was Star Wars The Last Jedi, which made $417 million in a net profit. Now, here's the crazy thing. Force Awakens made $780 million in net profit, so it is a drop. But you got to think about this. The top two movies are Disney, so together these films brought in right under $1 billion in profit for the studio. And then you got to go down and think, oh yeah, Thor Ragnarok, Guardians of the Galaxy. So they made over $1 billion right there. But as much as a lot of us, and myself included, do not like The Last Jedi, and it did have a decline compared to the first film, even though domestically it still made a lot of money, $620 million, even though it's getting passed by Black Panther, so that film's easily going to make $500-600 million in profit. It still made $417 million, so Disney's still getting huge returns from this franchise right now. Not so much in the merchandise department, which is definitely something that should be worrisome to them, but as well in the profit department for movies, Rogue One made a lot of profit. I think it made like 300 million. Force Awakens made $780 million. This one made $400. Now, Han Solo, though, I don't know how much profit that's going to make. That depends on how much money they spent on the reshoots and if it really paid off. So, I don't know, but that's it for right now. I just wanted to show you guys that a little bit. They're showing Rian Johnson there. Oh, my God. I think if they credit him like Rian Johnson's the reason the movie made the money. It's not the fact that it's Star Wars in the Disney machine. It's because it's Rian Johnson, because all of the mainstream audiences knew who he was. They went to go see a Rian Johnson movie. Oh my God, I hate that. I guess when you're the director, though, you get all the criticism and you get all the positives as well. I would like to see at least one SK movie on the big screen. I like when Netflix puts big movies on their platform, like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 or whatever. Sorry, I'm trying to see some of your comments so I don't miss stuff. How about some money for the guy getting out of the hospital? You don't need any more money, man. You wipe your ass with $20 bills. And then you do really gross stuff with them after that. I have an idea for something I could do on Illustrator or Photoshop. Take the retro purple Ready Player One poster, replace the characters with member berries from South Park. Yeah, I love a joke that's like 3 or 4 years past its prime. It's great. Remember Chewbacca? I remember that. It does make quite a difference. Now, actually, here's the weird thing about Ready Player One. It actually performed way better than a lot of the expectations, including my own. Which I said there's no way this film wasn't going to bomb. I mean, I made that clear. I'd said it many times. And it wasn't going to open above 35 million, and there was no way. So Ready Player One actually opened above expectations and tracking. It didn't blow away anything in the water, at least domestically. It wasn't like it opened to 70, 80 million. But a lot of people are predicting an opening weekend in the 30 to $35 million range. But it proved that wrong. It actually opened better than that, and it seems it's going to have a pretty good 4-day weekend. Also, it did huge internationally. If it can keep the traction it has, Ready Player One will be a hit. Love it or hate it, it could turn into a hit. It does depend on word of mouth, though, so we have to consider that. Okay. So we already talked about Coco. Let's move up a little bit and find something here. Okay, Death Wish, Annihilation, no real jump to talk about. Jumanji's about at the same place. The Greatest Showman. Now, this had an update recently. Now, this is crazy. This film's at $172 million domestic, $84 million budget, $414 million worldwide with that $8 million opening weekend. What a crowd pleaser this ended up being. But it's still going at that international box office, doing really well. The Death of Stalin from the creator of Veep and did the movie In the Loop. 3.9 million total. It's open at 484 theaters. What did it do this weekend? 1.4 million. This film is very critically acclaimed. It has like 88 on Metacritic. So just saying, I don't know if it's good or not. I like the guy who writes this stuff, but I'll have to wait and see. Midnight Sun, $4 million opening weekend, about 2 million this weekend, 7.7 million total. Yay. Peter Rabbit is at $110 million domestically and $230 million worldwide. It's actually picked up a lot of momentum at the international box office with a $50 million budget. And we have to include marketing and all that, distribution fees. But still, there's no doubt this has made a little bit of a profit. And maybe it can reach $300 million. Who knows? It's not totally done yet. Game Night. $65 million domestic, right under $100 million worldwide. I think if it crosses that, you could say this is a minor little success. God's Not Dead, A Light in Darkness. Now, my favorite current trilogy outside of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid films is the God's Not Dead trilogy. And if there was something I was more disappointed not seeing this week in the Ready Player One, it was this. The first one, I think, is up there with The Room or Troll 2 as one of the so bad it's good movies ever made. I laughed the entire time I watched that movie. I was completely engrossed by it. I quote it all the time. I find it fascinating. I've studied it. I went to go see the second film in the theater. That was one of the best experiences I've ever had in a theater. I went with my best friend at the time. We laughed the whole movie. We were in there filled with a bunch of Christian moviegoers, and we were like trying not to laugh because we didn't want to hurt. We didn't want to be jerks. We just genuinely wanted to go see this movie for entertainment factor. And it was the most entertaining time I had at the movies for several years. Just like the Diary of a Wimpy Kid trilogy, you know. There's so many films that are so overrated or disappointing when you go to see them that people say are classics. And there's so many films that people say are bad or B movies and they don't work. And they just don't appreciate it. Most people talk about the God's Not Dead franchise and they just come from this very militant atheist point of view where it's like, this is just propaganda BS, and they attack every little bit of it, and they ignore the comedic goldmine that's in this film. Just the choices they make in the characters and the casting. The guy who plays the preacher in this series, the Trey Parker looking mofo. Now, compared to the first film, which had a really good opening weekend and made $60 million, and then even in the first one, the Duck Dynasty guy's in it. And he's like, those words are unread. That means they were written by Jesus. That's amazing. I could never think of something that funny. I could never think of something as funny. No SNL sketch has been as funny, ever. None of them. As Kevin Sorbo going to a class as this atheist teacher, his goatee, and telling the students, God is dead. Write this on the paper and you'll pass. And then one kid's like, I'm not doing that. So he's like, you're going to teach this class the rest of the semester and convince everyone God exists. And then he does it. He proves God exists to the class and wins. And then Kevin Sorbo character, spoiler, ends up dying at the end of the movie because he didn't accept Jesus. And then the preacher guy shows up and prays with him. And they're like, a good thing happened here today, that this guy got hit by a car. Meanwhile, this is being intercut with a montage of a concert where everyone's celebrating with the Duck Dynasty people on a giant screen. So they're celebrating death. It's amazing. I can't believe it. It's, oh God. And they have this band in the group, like the West Boys or whatever. And they come in and they're like, listen, we're going to do the show, but we have to pray with this girl. And then they show up in the sequel. They're in the sequel. I mean, I'm like, it's like when Roderick Diary of a Wimpy Kid 4, they recast Roderick. Those jerks. Roderick and Greg. Why'd you ruin such a good series? We could have watched them grow up and go into the adult years. But I'm so upset I didn't get to see this film. The first two are awesome. I will always defend God's Not Dead. I will get in any movie debate with any a-hole in any live stream and make a great argument for this film being better than so many other films. This is a more entertaining series than most Marvel films, than most DC films. Then I don't give a damn what you love out there. Alright? Screw it. Screw your Game of Thrones. Screw your Harry Potters. I don't give a damn. God's Not Dead. Remember it, people. Remember. Be the light in the darkness to the future of cinema. God, I can't wait to catch this. I might just have to go to the theater tomorrow to see this movie. Isle of Dogs, which sounds like I Love Dogs. I did a video this week defending this film for its attacks for culturally appropriating the Japanese, but that's a video in itself. I don't need to go into it here again. But let's look at Isle of Dogs box office. In 165 theaters, they're still doing this limited release crap with this movie, because I guess they don't think Wes Anderson has any pull, even though his last two films were really big hits. $2.8 million, $5.9 million so far. Let's see where it's at. I think this film cost about $40 million, but I'm not sure. I believe that's what I read, or 35, 40. Fantastic Mr. Fox costs 40, so you'd have to assume, because this stuff's pretty expensive, the stop-motion animation. $8 million worldwide. It still hasn't gone into a wide release yet, so there's not much to say about this. It's doing well. and it should continue to do well, what we're seeing, but we don't really know what its overall performance is going to be and how people are going to respond to it. I don't know. Critics like it, but that doesn't mean audiences will respond to it. And people forget that Fantastic Mr. Fox was a bomb. Was a straight-up bomb. And it's really unfortunate because big Wes Anderson fan here. I mean, I love the guy. But yeah, Fantastic Mr. Fox, $46 million, $40 million budget. That didn't make money. Now, Moonrise Kingdom, Royal Tenenbaums, Grand Budapest all did really well. Everything else he's made, I don't want to say it was a bomb, but it pretty much was. They might have made money on home video later down the road, but Paul, Apostle of Christ. It's made $11.5 million so far. It had a $5 million opening weekend, $5 million budget. Let's see, it did $3.5 million this weekend. That's not a bad hold. Wrinkle in Time, about to wrap up its total. This is a film that has a $103 million budget. Now, you got to include the $50 million marketing campaign. So, this film's made $83 million domestic and $104 million worldwide. So, not only have they not made a profit yet, they're pretty far from making a profit. And I would say they're not going to make a profit. Because, I would say they had to have made $250-300 million for this to break even. When they at least $200 million. And I just don't see it doing that. I know it hasn't opened everywhere yet internationally. But that domestic total, which looked like it was doing pretty well in the second weekend, is just halting to a stop. And Ava DuVernay's film, which had all this hype and was going to be like Black Panther, well, it didn't really pay off that way. Unfortunately for the studio, it's just this company called Disney. They can't afford a bomb right now. Tomb Raider. $4.7 million. This film's made $50 million domestically. Even now, after being out for several weeks, it still hasn't. It's around the opening weekend of the first one with Angelina Jolie. That's crazy. $94 million budget, $245 million worldwide. So they could make a little bit of a profit off this due to the international box office, depending on how much they get back from the ticket sales. Domestically, it's not a disaster, but it's nothing special. It kind of came and went, and the opening weekend being so disappointing didn't really lead to a positive word of mouth that kicked in. So, unfortunately for Alicia Vikander's Tomb Raider movie, which, could have been good. The trailers kind of sucked. I think the marketing campaign really hurt this movie big time. Because the reviews are more mixed, they weren't that negative, but the trailer was just abysmal. So, it's not doing as bad as it could be doing, but it's also not doing great either. Love, Simon. The gay coming-of-age film made $4 million this weekend. This film's actually doing pretty well. This film has a $17 million budget from Greg Berlanti, and it's made $33 million worldwide, $32 million of that domestic. It's not done yet. This film could reach $50 million if it holds on, so maybe this will be a little bit of a hit. It's definitely making more than Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl, which was a movie I liked quite a bit, but didn't hold up. Okay, Sherlock Gnomes, $7 million, 34% drop, $22.8 million total. This film cost $59 million, let's just say 60. The first film actually did pretty well. God, Johnny Depp's a voice in this? What the hell? The first film actually did pretty well, though. I believe it made $100 million, the Romeo and Juliet, but this one's not doing nearly as well. It's almost done with its run, and it hasn't even reached $30 million domestic. Now, it didn't have a big drop, but it also didn't have a great hold either. It's somewhere in the middle. I haven't seen the movie. Maybe it's fun. I don't know. Pacific Rim Uprising, $9.2 million. That's a 67%. That's a 67% drop. Damn. I said, God damn. Little Uma Thurman there for you. $45.6 million domestically. Now, the opening weekend of this film impressed me. $28 million. That was higher than what I was expecting, but it's already down to number 5, so not a good sign. People really aren't liking this $150 million movie. Why did they spend that much money on this movie? What were they thinking? Let's look at that worldwide total, though. $231 million. Had a great opening internationally last week. It's at a $150 million budget. $231 million worldwide. It should break $300 million worldwide. I don't know how much profit it's going to make. It'll probably break even eventually. But that domestic total, while not as bad as I was expecting, if we're being honest, it's not great either. And the 67% drop should be very... it's just disconcerting. I don't think that's leading to a good place. This film got very mixed reviews. I think it got the reviews that the first film deserved, but the first film got kind of a pass from a lot of critics just because it was Del Toro. Guillermo Del Toro. There you go, Bathory. Guillermo del Toro. I did it. See? I can do it. There you go. Not even the power of the Unicorn Gundam cameo can save this. But I understand why they felt they... What are you guys talking about? Like nuclear war or something? What's going on here? What's going on here? I'm a bit biased, though. I like lots of Japanese stuff. Yeah, Japanese stuff's awesome, man. I like a lot of Japanese stuff, too. I like a lot of music and, Oh, another donation. What do you think it takes to get people off digital platforms and into theaters for a movie's opening weekend? Your ideal strategy to bluff a lame movie's initial box office. Mystery. Less instead of over promoting. You know, like what It was so clever about, or even Jumanji as an IP. You take an older IP, and what does it take to get people up and into new theaters? You kind of have to build a sense of the movie something really special. Like my favorite Wes Anderson films were all Tenenbaums. But it did this job where it's like, this looks like the scariest movie ever, and they make the trailer cut it that way to... And a lot of trailers try to make their movie look scary, but it went out of its way to say, no, this is the scariest movie ever. And it didn't reveal too much. You know, it just gave you, enough glimpses of Pennywise and stuff like that. Or Get Out's a great example where you just show the whole film in the trailer, I guess. But at the same time, I think what really works is you have to mix IP, nostalgia, genre tropes that people are attracted to, and then combine that all together with well-cut trailers that really give a sense of mystery. A lot of trailers, they're well put together and interesting, but I don't think we live in that era anymore where you can just get by on the editing. You kind of have to have a hook in the trailer anymore. And a lot of trailers don't have this. Wrinkle in Time didn't have this. I don't know. It's tough. I think today more it's about the brand than anything else. If you want to make money and get out there and get people into theaters, I would say just do what like Black Panther did. Create some kind of fake hype. Create some kind of fake controversy. Get the media supporting it. Back it up with that it's, overstate the importance of this movie. And that can work to your favor. It backfired with Ghostbusters, but that was miscalculated in so many ways. Black Panther did this kind of thing correctly. But there's a lot of ways to do this. I mean, it's not a simple question. There's a lot of layers to it. I guess my strategy would be just to try to make a good movie that has good word of mouth. But if you just want people to go see it initially on opening weekend, like something like Tomb Raider, you have to give the trailer some kind of hook that people feel like they have to go see that movie to see what's in there. Even if it's just a glimpse at some kind of action sequence or plot moment or what is this movie really about? That was my biggest issue with the Ready Player One marketing, is that you never got a sense of what the story was or the plot that much. You really just saw a bunch of cool images, well-edited trailers, well put together, really like them, and a lot of cool stuff, but it just kind of jumped around a lot, and it never really gave you a sense of what the structure and the pacing of the film is going to be like, and I think that can help too. But I don't know if we live in a world where trailers matter as much as many of the hits on the trailers matter. Is it because the trailer's good, or is it because it got 20 million hits in 24 hours? I'm not really sure. And I think Hollywood doesn't really have this figured out as well. I think they're confused by this. I think they're just relying on the best thing they have for branding. They're like, well, hey, we're Marvel. People like Marvel films. I mean, I guess the Thor Ragnarok trailer is a great example of doing something where you add like the Immigrant Song with the images and put it together like that. I mean, that trailer was the best short film of 2017. As an atheist, I'm not interested in what, Easter? What the heck are we talking about? Dark Knight Rises opening, God's Not Dead, God's Not Dead 2, Animal House. Yeah, but you don't get it. It's not that you're an atheist, bro, that makes it great. It's amazing. Atheism has nothing to do with God's Not Dead. That's the beautiful thing about it. It's just a great film. Was SNL ever funny? Yes, it was, Bathory. In the 70s, the Eddie Murphy years, the Dana Carvey late 80s, 90s years, and the Will Ferrell years, SNL was funny, yes. Do you have any good Batman comics to recommend? Yes, Batman Gotham by Gaslight, Batman Gothic, Batman Son of the Demon, which is one of my favorite Batman books. Batman the Cult, Arkham Asylum, Batman Prey, which has Hugo Strange in it. Very underrated comic. It was out of print for a while, but I know it's in print now. Awesome. It's Prey. A terrific comic. There was rumors at one time that Dark Knight Rises was going to be based off that comic. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Although in a lot of ways, it's great. We got the best comedy ever made. I'm just throwing out a lot of them out there. Crap, I may have given you too many there to sort through. God, there's so many. Gothic's really good. Some of the Elseworld stuff's really, really, really good. I mean, I don't want to say the cliche ones like Year One and Dark Knight Returns, and I'm trying to think of ones that are a little bit more interesting than that. But I guess that's a good starting point. Yeah, look for Gotham by Gaslight and Son of the Demon and Gothic, Batman Gothic, which has an original villain in it, and one of the more interesting villains in the Batman mythology, actually. So, I'm going to the bottom here. Sorry, people. I thought episode 8 of Twin Peaks season 3 was the best short film of 2017. No. That wasn't a short film, Blood Money. That was just a feature, basically. It was an hour long. It went over 45 minutes, so I just consider it a feature. I think if you go over 45 minutes, you're not really a short anymore. So that was like an hour-long episode. So I guess you could say it was a short film, but it's kind of in that weird middle ground. Like if he'd have added 10 more minutes to it, it would pretty much be a feature. And I like to think of Twin Peaks Season 3, the whole season, is just like this 18-hour-long movie. Batman versus Predator. Yeah, just send them to me, Blood Money. It's fine. Pat, what was the Batman story where Batman was locked in Arkham, but he was framed by Victor Zsasz? That is a brutal horror mystery Batman book. I can't remember off the top of my head. Victor Zsasz. I know that's not Arkham Asylum. I know it's weird because I've read like every Batman comic ever. I've legit read detective comics, almost every detective comics going back to the 70s till now, and I've read at least 50 plus Batman graphic novels. I'm a big Batman guy, and I know I've read stuff like that. It's just hard to remember it all because it's going through the years of my life because I've been reading Batman since I was very young. But I'll get back to you on that if I figure something. Why do IMAX projectors break all the time? I don't know. I guess I don't know the answer to that question. That's an interesting question, though. Thank you. All movies try to push one message or another. You're allowed to choose when your breaking point is. Any good non-Elseworld stuff? Yeah, if you're in the detective I mean, that stuff I was talking about, like Son of the Demon and all that. That is an Elseworlds Tales. The Elseworld stuff, though, I'm a big fan of when it was great. I mean, it's but some of the Grant Morrison Batman until it goes absolutely crazy is really good. Especially the Dick Grayson becoming Bruce Wayne stuff in the last decade was awesome. Him with Damian Wayne as Robin is so awesome. If you want to read Nightfall, I think it's a fun book. It's a ridiculous book, but I think it's a really fun book. Personally, my favorite Batman era is probably the 70s to the 80s, and the 80s Daredevil stuff too, but the 80s, and then the late 90s into the 2000s. I'm a pretty big fan of that era. But if you want to just read some classic Batman stuff that isn't Elseworlds Tales or anything like that, if you just want to read some very traditional Batman, I would recommend the Scott Snyder series, even though it falls apart. That first initial is pretty great. That first initial run he did was really awesome. Batman Black Mirror, a graphic novel he wrote where Dick Grayson's Batman's terrific. I actually like Dick Grayson more than Bruce Wayne. I think he's a more interesting character. Nightwing, even, I find to me. Yeah, Court of Owls. Yeah, it's terrific. I would recommend reading that. It maybe kind of falls apart in the final act, but the first two acts are amazing. And a really nice Batman story. There's a lot of good Batman stuff, though. God, I would just recommend reading detective comics. You find them. Just go back and find... Yeah, Scott Snyder, not Zack Snyder. Scott Snyder. Scott Snyder, the writer, not Zack Snyder, the filmmaker. He also did a run on Swamp Thing. I think he created American Vampire. I could be wrong about that. IMAX projectors break on purpose, so they have to view any more Disney War movies. Disney War movies. So what should Please Rewind get for a tattoo? I didn't know that was a question or something. I already know what I want for a tattoo, Blood Money. Or as I like to call you, Blood Honey. Because we're a couple. A gay one. Do you think Snyder ruined the DCU universe? No, I think WB ruined the DCU universe by hiring Zack Snyder. Oh, Zack Snyder. I think the producers ruined that. Really, you can't blame the man for being a hack and them hiring him. That's on them. It's not on me. Like it's my fault. It's your fault Batman v Superman sucked, man. Court of Owls was the first comic I ever read. Well, hey, man, awesome. Batman comic you ever read? Cool. That's not a bad one to start with. I can't remember the first Batman comic I read, honestly. I was so young. I would, because you could still get comic books back then. You could go to, like, a Kroger or Walmart even. They still sold comic books up front, and you could get comics at, like, grocery stores and stuff. I don't see that around anywhere anymore, but you used to be able to just get them anywhere. So I was reading Batman really young, so I can't remember it all. But the one that's in particular, for me would be, I mean, if you really want to get into some cool Batman stuff, then yeah, read some of the Frank Miller stuff. Denny O'Neil, one of the great writers of Batman, really changed Batman, brought him into the modern day, even more so I think than Frank Miller did in a lot of ways. I think Denny O'Neil doesn't get enough credit. So pretty much the Denny O'Neil run, even when he introduces Ra's al Ghul in the 70s and all of that stuff that carries over, is absolutely terrific. It's really, really good. I can only imagine all this box office making money for Jesus. I can only imagine Dennis Quaid's pay was probably not enough, but it worked out okay. $10.7 million, 21% drop. This film didn't even get bad reviews. It has 68% on Rotten Tomatoes for a Christian film. This isn't doing that bad, critically and financially. Actually, financially, it's doing phenomenal. $7 million budget, and it's at $55.5 million. I think Dennis Quaid was in. Yes, he is. The great Dennis Quaid. $17 million opening, 55. This will definitely make $60 million where it's at now. It should make $70 million. I don't know if it could quite reach $100 million, but this certainly isn't a bomb, and it still shows that you can make Christian movies on a low budget and they'll make money. I don't know how much of this was the Christian factor or that it was genuinely a well-marketed film that kind of hit middle America in the right spot. And I guess we do ignore that there's still so many religious people in this country. It does feel like if you stay in an echo chamber of the internet and you hang out just around, the youth, you would think that everyone's kind of atheist and nobody really cares about religious stuff. But I guess there's still that big market out there in a lot of different age demographics that we kind of ignore, and Hollywood ignores. Hollywood really doesn't go into the religious stuff that much at all. Unless Superman's Jesus in a Zack Snyder movie. But yeah, I haven't seen the movie, but I'm happy it's making that money. It's cool to see something different out there making money that's not like everything else. Black Panther doing great once again. $11.2 million, 34% drop. That's not bad at all. $650 million. It should be able to now pass Jurassic World. It has passed The Last Jedi. It's passed The Avengers. The only film that it hasn't passed, and it will not pass, is Avatar and Force Awakens, which are very, well, actually Avatar's from a decade ago, but if recent films, those are the only two that outperformed it domestically. Adjusted for ticket price inflation, this is about what Dark Knight did. So $202 million opening weekend, $200 million budget. They've already confirmed this film will make over $500 million in profit because it's been making this money so fast. Like, it didn't make this money over a long, drawn-out time. It made this quick. I mean, it's at 11 million and it's still got a ways to go. It's not going to be done here at 650. This could make 680, 690. It could reach 700 million. If we're being realistic, I don't think it'll quite reach that, but this movie's not done yet. It's still going strong. I was very mixed on this movie. I review on this channel. I don't love the movie, but you cannot deny the financial success, even if the international box office isn't quite as impressive. But when you consider how well black-led films, black-cast films have done, I didn't consider the African factor being in that, though, that African culture, which Disney's appropriating, if we're being fair, to make profits. It's like, no, but it's a black filmmaker. It's like, yeah, but white producers. Kevin Feige's a white guy, too. But $1,273,000,000 worldwide. It should be able to break $1.3 billion. So maybe worldwide, yet it isn't at that Avengers point. It isn't at the Star Wars point. But it doesn't need to be, because look at them domestic numbers, baby. And I doubt anyone had back end on this. Ryan Coogler, Chadwick, was anyone that was that major. This is all going to the bank. So you got to think about this. We're talking about Disney here. So we talked about the $400 million from Last Jedi. Then we talk about the, $350 million from Beauty and the Beast. And then here you go with Black Panther, $500 million. So right there you have over $1 billion. Then you have Thor Ragnarok. So Disney is just printing money right now. And then they have Infinity War coming out very soon. So this is ridiculous. They own everything. And then now that they have the X-Men franchise, Deadpool, I think next year when we're going to be looking at the most profitable films list, it's just all going to be Disney movies. I don't think we're going to see like another It in there or a Jumanji 2, at least for right now, until those films get sequels. But it is the era of Disney. Maybe it has been for decades, but it is in particular right now at the box office. It's like going back in the day when there was just a bunch of Disney movies, or there was like 2 or 3 studios. It's like, I guess they're the studio now. It's not even people that seem to even associate it with Disney. They seem to think of Marvel as its own thing, as Star Wars as its own thing. All the stuff that Disney owns is not Disney stuff, but it's all Disney, man. But once again, though, can't deny the success. $650 million domestic. That's huge. Huge, huge. They did everything right here with the marketing and building the hype and making this film somehow controversial and a movement. Critics just praised this movie. They liked it before they even saw it. There's so many reviews where people are just giving this 4 stars, 3.5. It's okay if you want to give this movie like 3-star, 2.5-star reviews, but all the people giving it 4s, it just skewed the reviews. It overhyped the film, which I thought would be a negative towards it, and create a lot of backlash that the film necessarily didn't deserve. But what do they care? It's the best reviewed comic book film of all time, and it's the 3rd highest grossing one. Internationally. Domestically, this is now the highest grossing comic book movie of all time, superhero comic book movie, domestically, and that's unadjusted for ticket price inflation. So once again, after several weeks at number 1, Black Panther does great again. Moving on to another black filmmaker is Tyler Perry's Acrimony, which made $17.1 million this weekend, which honestly is pretty good. I thought it would do much worse than that, but oh well, you know what? Taraji, is that her name? Taraji P. Henson. She's kind of become a big star, especially with black communities. As Patrice O'Neal said years ago brilliantly, do you know Gabrielle Union is? He's on Opie and Anthony, and I know who she is, but he's like, to a black person, Gabrielle Union's a much bigger deal than to white people. And that's such a valid point. There's certain actresses, certain people that to a black audience is a big deal. And she is one of those actresses where, the all black women, all black men that are, certain age demographic. I'm not trying to generalize, but that's a bigger star to them than you might think in a public context, even though she has become rather famous. I mean, you remember she was the mother in Benjamin Button. But yeah, isn't she on that show Empire or whatever? I thought that I didn't know about this film coming out. Tyler Perry's last film that I looked at was the second Boo Madea movie. Oh crap, it wasn't even that. He's got another Madea movie coming out. Crap. So yeah, Boo was kind of disappointing. It had a $25 million budget, looked like $1 million, and made $48 million, which was really below the previous Madea Boo movie. And then you have this film, which actually has a pretty good opening weekend for it. I don't know what the budget is. I can't imagine it's high. And then you got a Madea Family Funeral. Oh boy, can't wait to get to that one. This fall, people, we're going to be talking about the box office of a Madea Family Funeral. How many Madea films are there? I didn't even stop thinking about like, holy shit. Let's see here. I'm going to go through here. Okay, one Medea film. Two Medea films. That's Christmas. Three Medea films. Four Medea films. Five Medea films. Six Medea films. Seven. And then the new one. So there's going to be 8 Medea films. Wait, Medea goes to jail. That's like Ernest goes to jail. Oh my god. Medea's Black Ernest. I never thought of it that way. Holy crap. And that film made $90 million. Holy crap. $41 million opening weekend. So yeah, there's going to be 8. So eventually he's going to have 10 of these. This is going to be the James Bond franchise for giant black men dressing up as old black women. And doing a voice like this. So yeah, take that for what it's worth, I guess. Tyler Perry, I hate you as a director. I hate you as a writer. You seem like a nice fella. And honestly, I really liked you in Gone Girl. But could you just hire someone else to direct your movies and shoot them? And could you hire other people to write the scripts and you just produce them? I'm just throwing that out there. Do you really need to write and direct them? You have enough money now. Isn't this guy worth like hundreds of millions of dollars? Like, why don't you just get more talented people to do this? Couldn't you give the opportunity to the younger black directors to make Tyler Perry movies and add their own... what am I saying? That means he would have to actually do something that didn't just build up his own ego. My bad. What a waste of time. So Tyler Perry's Acrimony, it did okay. Not bad. Actually, all those films there, I can only imagine Black Panther and that film all did relatively well. Right beside, it's funny to see that 11, 10, 9. Pacific Rim Uprising, though, that's a huge drop, and nothing else really made a big impact this weekend outside of the box office Addict film of the week, which is, of course, Steven Spielberg's adaptation of the Ernest Cline novel. A local Austinite guy. He wrote the book. He wrote a sequel to Buckaroo Banzai. I find the book Ready Player One to be overrated junk, and people who say they love it just baffle me. It's all nostalgia. It's a fun premise, but I'm sorry. I've read Snow Crash. I've read other VR books. It's a fun little premise. There's some fun references, but it's generic storytelling as you could possibly have. The prose are not good. It's not literary. It could have been turned into a decent film, though. It does seem to work in a cinematic way, although I've heard the script really didn't make any major improvements. So, not a big fan of the book. Like some of the references, like some of the ideas. But there's just pages of stuff in there that's just indulgent, and it doesn't really hit for me. And I'm just not, I just don't really get it. That book was so popular, and I was trying to figure it out. I guess it's just because people went through it and made them feel good about themselves. Like, I get that reference. And I don't think it really translated into a compelling story. I remember getting that book a few years ago from the library. I was kind of hyped, because everyone kept saying how good it was. And then I read it, I'm like, oh my god, this is mediocre as hell. And that's being nice, saying Ready Player One's mediocre. Ernest Cline's not a bad, like, not a totally terrible writer. I would say he's in the Max Landis area, sort of, but he's nothing special. And this film, though, seemed to be quite influenced by The Matrix. They added stuff that wasn't in the book, in particular horror sequence in the middle of the film that I won't spoil for you guys. And Spielberg adding some things. Now, really cool Spielberg shot this movie, though. They would do a lot of the scenes and look through the Oculus Rift. They would do VR, and the actors then could see the sets and see where they were going to be filming. And then they could kind of figure out the blocking and that, looking at the locations, then take them off and do the scenes. And then beyond that, too, Spielberg had this remote control camera that he would set with, and he would operate the camera with the remote control to where he could move the camera anywhere. So he's basically sitting there with the remote control, and he's seeing on a monitor where everything's going to be later. You know, little simplified cartoon-looking things before he actually put it together. So he's actually staging all the sequences with the camera and going through every bit while the actors are looking through the Oculus Rift and going through. And then after they do that, then they just shoot the sequence, and then the special effects team comes over there. Now, this film's been widely praised for its special effects. It's been very criticized, or that the biggest negative seems to be towards the story and character development and the acting. But people have immensely praised Spielberg's directing in this film, the immersion that's in this film, the chaos that's in this film, and the energy. It's an action film. It's not really a film with pathos and emotion. For a film that's 2 hours and 20 minutes, I think that was a really bad idea. If this was just going to be an action chase movie, it should be 2 hours at the longest, or even a little shorter. To make it kind of an epic at 2.5 hours, where it felt like, from what I've read, a lot of people are saying the outside world isn't as well established, then just make it a 2 hour action film that's nonstop. It seems a little indulgent. They didn't want to cut as much, maybe, and it seems like Steven Spielberg's had a lot of second unit guys shoot stuff. So I haven't seen the movie yet, but I think one problem I'm going to have is going to be length, just because I never wanted a version of this movie that was that long. I think it's crazy to make a version of this movie that's 2.5 hours. I thought, well, maybe if they add all this extra stuff, that'll be really beautiful and emotional and all that, but I haven't read that from any reviews. All the reviews that even like the film, including that odd mixed review from Ain't It Cool where they talk about the sexist hand gesture on the cheek. There's nothing really that special. I think we talked about the marketing not being great necessarily because they didn't really present what the story was, but I like the trailers. I like how they were cut. I think the marketing could have been better, for sure. And somebody even said in one review, and I think it was very telling, they said that the trailers maybe intentionally really undersell the movie. Intentionally. And I'm like, oh, they say they really undersell the spectacle of the movie and how impressive a lot of these special effects action sequences are. So that makes sense. It makes me think, why didn't you show some of that cooler stuff? There's moments I like seeing the T-Rex in the trailer, the Spartans from Halo. But I guess that really was enough. Not a bad opening weekend, once again. Above expectations. I'm not sure what the budget on this film is. What is it, 150 million, 170 million? But let's look at that worldwide total, though. I think this film had a huge opening in China. The film opened with 181 million worldwide. That's way better than I thought it was going to do. 128 million dollars of that's internationally. $53 million right now domestic over the 4-day. So we have to say that if this film perhaps opened, it would have opened on Friday. It might have had a bigger opening weekend for the 3-day. It probably could have opened to $48 million, $50 million. And I kept saying I thought this film would open to 30, 35 million, which looked like a bomb. 40 million with 53 million, that's not a bomb number. It's not a great number. It's not like 60 million, 70 million, but it's also not that bad, honestly. That's better than like the BFG and every other recent Spielberg film that I could think of. Most of them open pretty moderate and then do well on word of mouth. I think Lincoln had a pretty good opening weekend. Yeah, Lincoln, I think, opened at 29 million when it went wide. Adventures of Tintin didn't have a huge opening weekend. So his last film that had a really big opening, or, had a much bigger opening and made 100 million, over 100 million domestic like that, was Indiana Jones. Well, Lincoln did as well. And everything else has kind of been performing under there. The Post, though, just to update you on that film, I was thinking, would that reach the $165 million that was reached by the Bridge of Spies film? And I think last time I checked the Post, it was about $154 million, but it has reached $165 million. So $50 million budget. The domestic total's decent, but worldwide, they probably made a neat little profit off that. And as you know, Spielberg always comes in under budget, under time. So Ready Player One, $53 million. Let's just say that. That's not bad. Does anyone know the budget of this film? I'm guessing $150 million, but I have no way. $61 million. Yeah, it had a very big opening weekend in China, $61 million. And if it holds there, it could make $200 million in China, which would be very big. So if this film does hold well, and it keeps going down this path internationally, which a $200 million worldwide opening is not bad, this film could make $450, $500 million worldwide. Depending on the budget, that means they're going to break even, or at least make a hint of a profit, a decent little profit. If it does make over 500 million or like 550, then it would definitely be a film that you would have to say made a decent profit. All things considered. But I'm sure that there was a side to them that thought, well, maybe this movie will open to like 71 million, 83 million over the 4-day, and then make like 250 domestic and 700 million, 800 million worldwide. But it looks like a kind of film that could make 120, 130 million domestic if audiences like it. It has an A- cinema score. And with the worldwide box office where it's at, this film is at least going to make 300 million. So we'll just have to wait and see on this one. But this did much better than I was expecting. I was saying that this film was going to do horribly, and it did not do horribly. And audiences do seem to be responding to it. It's getting pretty okay reviews from critics. Nothing amazing. Yeah, I know. I know at the Ain't It Cool thing, it's hilarious. If not for that Sans cameo in the final battle. Yeah, I've heard there's a big cameo in the movie. Yeah, no, I didn't like the book either. It's just kind of like, eh. You can only make Roger Rabbit once. Yeah, it is that Roger Rabbit factor. Let's just mix everything together. Has Max Landis even said anything at all since the allegation? No, he has not. He has not tweeted or come out and spoke publicly since the allegations. That was in December? So it's been 3 months since any of us have heard from Max Landis, which is, I think, very interesting. Although I've heard that he still likes he still likes tweets that say something positive about him. You loved it, to be honest, and Paddington 2 are my favorite. Yeah, Paddington 2 is terrific. I really should have done a review for that movie. Werner Herzog. Yes, let's talk about Herzog sometime, my friends. Let's see. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to read the chat here real quick. Which is very loved. Where's the production budget for these Disney movies? They're not on here, but you could find them on Wikipedia, Hollywood Reporter, and Variety. It's been reported across the board that Black Panther cost around $200 million, although it doesn't look like a $200 million film. That's for sure. I just watched Bone Tomahawk, that one with the Kurt Russell, the Western, and I hate it. It's like Predator, but with Indians, and it's super racist. Look at these savages. Finally, some people are ready, deserve to be killed. Yeah, I hope you're being sarcastic. That sounds like an awesome movie, man. I love me a good old racist Kurt Russell Western. What's wrong with you? Well, at least Shane Black's helped working on this. Shane Black's making it, and Frank Decker, that's his name, right? Frank Decker's working on that, which I miss him. He hasn't been around in a long time. Great 80s B movie director. Can you do a series of your favorite directors? Yeah, I have my favorite film series, which I've done a horrible job updating in Underrated Classics. I would like to do a series on my favorite directors, and I have discussed this before with other people. So, yes, eventually that will happen. I will do a favorite director series. And I've thought about this a lot, and it would just be a video, me talking about why I like a certain director each way. I actually had that idea a decade ago. I can't remember what I did. I think it was on like Robert Altman or something, where I just talked about the movies of his I liked and what I did like about him. And it's not always about just directors I love. It's just talking about filmmakers that I've watched some of their stuff, and I kind of want to give little themes or analysis on things that I've picked up over their works, connective tissue that might lead to something of a better understanding of what they're trying to express. Because we're never going to know everything that went on, but, it's enough. Oop. Hold on. Checking more chat stuff. When is the Gundam video series? Eventually, I gotta do a Kanye West series. I gotta do favorite films. I gotta do movie reviews. I gotta do this. I gotta do the podcast with Blood Money. And then I gotta do a series on the Gundam series. And then I got a lot of stuff planned, people. It's just a lot of stuff. Those videos, I'm waiting to get my better computer setups, the better editing. Once I get that, I can put a lot more work into that stuff, so I can have more cutting and get the things I need. It takes me way too long to edit currently, so it's just holding up the process. And it has nothing to do with my abilities to edit or what I have in my head of what I want to do. It has more to do with the fact that my editor is constantly freezing on me, and I'm very limited a lot of the time. And it just gets too tedious, and not in the normal kind of tedium with editing where you just do the same thing a lot. It becomes tedious that I have to constantly go through these complications I shouldn't have to go through just to do something that's very basic to me. Especially with cutting and things I want to cut to and make jokes with. So that's a little upsetting. Did I watch Toonami last night? No. I was watching it when Samurai Jack Season 5 was on last year. Outside of that, I don't really watch the rebooted Toonami anymore. But I guess I should. I like Tom, Stephen Bloom. Many a mediocre story has been saved by brilliant directing, filming. That's true. I agree with that. I think that a film can get by just on, in a lot of ways, spectacle and momentum and craftsmanship. I think that can make a film watchable. Even if you don't like things about the script or characterization, it can still be an entertaining movie that ultimately works because the filmmaker behind it is very good. Well, hey, man, I love you watching my work. You're very cool. Thank you. Pat, Bill Burr is coming to Pittsburgh on Friday, FYI. Oh, crap. Well, I'm not either. I would love to go see Bill Burr. We just get in an argument. I'm going to go heckle Bill Burr. If there's anyone who could heckle that mofo, I could. I could handle that too. That'd be very fun. I might go there. I'm just going there to heckle him, a comedian I love. When I'm moving here to Pittsburgh soon, the few things I want to do. I want to go try to do some stand up, which I haven't done in a long time. And they had subtitles on last night. And I'm also going to go to join some improv stuff and look around. But I would like to. I've heard they're bringing back some like old school anime stuff too on Toonami, which I would really support. But I'm gonna go there to try to do some stand up stuff, set up some events, keep the YouTube channel going, promote things at some cons and so on like that. But I don't know how good the stand up scene is in Pittsburgh. I'm sure it's adequate, like most cities like that. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm very excited though. I would love to. I love getting up on the stage and making jokes. I've been trying to kind of come up with bits and all that and performing them with my girlfriend. And sometimes when we're doing this, when we're doing Box Office Addict, it goes into that place. I'm so tired today. It's hard for me to get to those places of energy. I guess I should have drank some coffee. I guess I could have drank some coffee, or I drank a cup early this morning. But anyway, I hope you guys like the Isle of Dogs video. I hope you guys like the Annihilation review, because I did promise that. I kept my promise. Oh, FLCL's amazing. Did they come out with the sequel to Fully Cooley yet? April Fools, Adult Swim aired the first episode of the new Fully Cooley. Did they? Oh my god, that's awesome. I'm definitely going to watch it. Oh yeah, I love that thing where Bill Burr just yells at Philadelphia for like 8 minutes. It's one of the most awesome things ever. Sorry, but Kurt Russell shooting cannibal cavemen in your definition of racism. I think Blood Money's just going at someone with the chat. I love it. Coffee is the devil, dude. Yeah, Fully Cooley's awesome. It's only 6 episodes. One time I sat with my friends and we watched the entire 6th episode and we just deciphered everything about it. We just look at everything. We're like, let's explain every subtext, because it's obviously about coming of age, puberty. Clearly the thing popping out of his head's a boner. A lot of that, just looking at it that way was very fascinating. But some of the coolest animation I've ever seen. Guy Next did a great job with that, because they basically just keep remaking Ava. But they did Fully Cooley's sense of humor and the way that it brings so much stuff over from the manga and that sensibility is absolutely terrific. One of the best dubs that's been out there too. Fully Cooley isn't just getting a sequel; it's getting 2 sequel seasons this year in Toonami. Yeah, they've been talking about a sequel to Fully Cooley for like a long time. It's sad when the basic window video editing software is better than your own. I mean, Windows video editing isn't better than my editing software, no. But it's not. I don't have great editing software. I've have better edit. I have Final Cut on another computer, but I don't really use that for the YouTube stuff because that's just a lot of stuff I do work on. I have so much stuff on that computer that I actually do, like editing for my projects and freelance editing work on some things, and I just use my laptop most of the time to edit stuff for YouTube. Okay, quit bringing up Hitler every week, people. Okay, this isn't Hitler Addict. Does anyone know any Easter April Fool's jokes? Not off the top of my head, but I definitely have heard them before. Only watch subtitles. I do most of the time, unless it's a good dub. For instance, Fully Cooley has a phenomenal dub. Cowboy Bebop, Death Note. I would pay to see you do stand-up videos. Well, if I do go do stand-up, which I plan on it, I'm definitely going to have my girlfriend or some friend come and film me do it, and I will upload it for you guys if you want. Even if I bomb, that would be pretty fun. I'm happy to say I got full Sony Vegas for $14. Well, hey, man, awesome. Good job. That's a really good software. Did you see the Roseanne revival? I watched about 10 minutes of it. I saw the ratings were huge. It had like 20 million people. That's insane. They have, 20 million people. It had higher ratings on its premiere than back in the 90s when it ended. 16 million people watched the final season. 18 million watched the new series. That's insane for a network television show and how TV's been dying. I can't believe that it actually did that well. I mean, I knew Roseanne was going to do well because of the hype and the Trump thing, but, when they brought Will and Grace back, it got pretty great ratings. But now at this point, it's like, man, they need to bring some shows back. Friends needs to come back now. I mean, if Roseanne could get 18 million, that means Friends could get 30 million, in my opinion. Let's bring back Frasier, shall we? I don't care what John Mahoney died. Let's just bring back Niles and Frasier, and then there's no way the Seinfeld cast is getting back together, even the Curb Your Enthusiasm thing, because that's a weird thing when they said they did that. So we're losing a lot of money by doing it this way. But yeah, Roseanne, man, really, that was a benefit of media push with the Trump thing, and I guess that the popularity of that show, I guess people really like Roseanne and John Goodman, but I was not expecting ratings that great. It really blew out all expectations. I thought it would get about 10 million viewers. Nay on Star Trek Viewer, excluding one episode, The Thaw, with Michael McKean as the clown. And it's kind of designed the set of it to look like a classic episode, a TOS episode. Great script. It's awesome script, and it's got one of the best endings ever. I'm dying, I'm afraid. I know. Awesome. Voyager sucks. That episode, well, not only one of the best episodes of that show, it's one of the best episodes of any Star Trek series. Oh yeah, Seinfeld's phenomenal. I've been rewatching Seinfeld. In that moment, Jerry, I just said that, bro. Pay attention. I brought up that it was in Curb Your Enthusiasm. In that moment, Jerry, I was a marine biologist. The sea was angry that day, my friends. It's amazing. I was on the blowhole, and then he pulls out the golf ball. I've been showing my girlfriend Seinfeld stuff. Be like, look, all the plot lines come back together. Oh, no, Seinfeld came back. That would be like 40 million people. I mean, they're not... Jerry Seinfeld's not going to do that. None of them are going to do that. And they'd be old, too, which I think worked. Now, Friends, on the other hand, I do think if you just want to do like a 6-7 episode run, I'm pretty sure outside of Jennifer Aniston being a little pricey, you could definitely get David Schwimmer, Matthew Perry, Matt LeBlanc. I think you could get all those people back. Optional question. Would you do Janeway? Yes. Well, Carrie is gone, so I guess we need to call Meryl Streep. Yeah, I've heard the rumors that they're going to cast Meryl Streep as Leia in episode 9. That's like the most evil thing ever. That's a cruel joke. That has to just be a rumor. I mean, that's legit. They've already stuck a rod far up my ass to make me feel the pain, but now they have some kind of device inside the rod that shoots spikes out from the side so it can rip out through my ribs and stuff like that. It's absolutely horrifying. Like, I do wrong. There's something about Meryl Streep does kind of look the part. Like, I think visually she could do the part, and it's not like she couldn't act it, but what the hell? We won't replace Leia with the CGI character. We won't do that. Instead of just killing her off in Last Jedi, which would have made goddamn sense, because she's dead, you dumb fucks, and you knew she was dead when you could do reshoots, and you did reshoots after she was dead. Why not go, hey, why not kill her in that scene where she almost dies? Why not cut the stupid Leia flying scene? I don't know, maybe let's just do that, but no! Rian Johnson and his genius thought, let's keep the dead woman around. JJ will have to deal with it. Ha ha! I'm gonna go make my other trilogy, you jackass. But seriously, Meryl Streep, if she came in as Leia, oh my god. That'd be bonkers. And I used to love Meryl Streep, but it's like there's hate for Meryl Streep, and Disney's bullshit, and Kathleen Kennedy. It's like just so much evil in what they would do with that, because that would just be like, no, Mark Hamill's not going to be as prominent in this as you want him to be. Leia's not dead, and Leia's the ultimate Force user. Not only is it her, it's her and Rey together, mother and surrogate daughter, kicking all the men's asses, spanking Kylo's little whiny bottom, saying, good thing we got rid of Han and Luke. We don't need their dead weight anymore. It's the era of the female. Remember, the Force is female. It's always been that way. Kathleen just had to let us know. Don't you get it? When she kills Han Solo, she's killing Harrison Ford and her husband Frank Marshall. When she kills Luke Skywalker, she is killing George Lucas. She is killing these patriarchal bastards that held her down. Her creative freedom on all those movies that clearly she was the one that made them great. Of course she was all of the mind behind all of those Steven Spielberg films. Of course she was the one that was making all the decisions with all those talented writers and directors. It couldn't have been them. It was Kathleen Kennedy. Come on, Last Jedi made $417 million. That means it's good, people. It made money, so it's good. When Ryan already ignored JJ's plan for the trilogy, maybe Ryan just hates JJ and wants to screw him. Possibly. They could have some antagonistic relationship we're not sure about. Since we're talking about Steven Spielberg, your opinion on Schindler's List. I've been waiting to do a video on Schindler's List to discuss with my friends, so I don't want to go into it here. Me and Blood Money actually want to do a whole video about that. And the weird approach I'm going to take to that is that I find Schindler's List to be a highly entertaining film. And I want to discuss the entertainment factor of that film, that it's very watchable and funny. And again, like, people think about it, and it is. There are scenes where you're like, holy shit, that's screwed up, where the kids get taken away. I mean, there's scenes in that movie that are heartbreaking. The girl in the red, but it's just so engrossing. It's like enthralling. It's an awesome film experience. And it's got these Orson Welles things about it, and then it's got Hitchcockian things about it, and a little bit of Rossellini's Rome Open City for sure, especially the documentary aesthetic. Although I don't think it quite does the same thing, where it kind of sucks you in with the humor and humanity and then really tricks you when things get tragic. Which is really what Life is Beautiful did. If anything, I think that was more influenced, not aesthetically, but in the structure, by Rome Open City. Which I just watched this week. I haven't seen it in a long time. 1945. That film's aged wonderfully. I will say, though, Rossellini's Journey to Italy has aged horribly. That is overrated as hell. Overrated as hell. Yeah, but Showa's not a narrative feature. Showa's like a documentary, real stuff. So they're two different things. I mean, they're both movies, but one's taking all this footage and stuff and putting it together. And Schindler's List, is kind of, I mean, it's based off real people, but it's got a lot of fictional elements to it, and they twist things for dramatic effect. So, I was watching Parks and Rec, though. That's really funny. She's like, do you have Finding Nemo? And he's like, we have Showa. He looks at her and says, we have Showa. That's hilarious. It's just, she's like, from Leslie Knope, find Jason Schwartzman. We have Showa. Yeah, let's go from Finding Nemo to Showa. That's a big jump. I would have said I watched 8 hours of Showa when I'm looking for a kid's film. It's the greatest children's film ever made is Showa. Part of me wonders how much Ryan will screw his own continuity in his trilogy. There's not going to be any continuity. But yeah, by the way, Journey to Italy, though, very praised by Scorsese. Very praised by film critics. It's 90-something% on Rotten... 90%, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. 90, I don't know, 90, I think it's got like an 8.8 average. Man, watch Journey, big Rossellini fan, man, but God, it's like a travel log. It really is. It's just this boring couple, and don't get me wrong, Ingrid Bergman's amazing in the movie, but it's just this boring couple going to Italy. They just show you all these locations in Rome. They're like, hey, look at all these beautiful locations. They don't talk about anything. Their dialogue is very basic Hollywood dialogue. I know this film was groundbreaking because it kicked off a lot of movies that did stuff like that, but it doesn't hold up as a lot of other films where people travel and go to a place and the location matters more than the story and the characters. Because the stories and characters in that film are so bland. I like the ending, but I'm like, man, this is boring. It's just them sitting around having these mundane conversations. There's no plot at all. Not even a hint of it. There's hardly even any story. And yet this is considered a classic, Journey to Italy. I mean, it's considered one of the great films of its time, and even today it's held in high regard, and it's just not that good, in my opinion. I mean, other people could love it. I was watching it, and I'm like, man, this is just it's boring, it's cliche. Even if you're viewing it in the context of its time, it's pretty to see these places. It's pretty to see all these wonderful things, and kind of have it be explained to you if as an American audience member and so on, and it's nice to, to have American actors in there, so it really translates well. But at the same time, and nice cinematography, of course. I love Midnight in Paris, for sure. I love Midnight in Paris. But yeah, Journey to Italy is where Rome Open City is absolutely phenomenal, and a lot of its other work is phenomenal too. But I'm just gonna throw that out there. Yeah, Journey to Italy needs to be kind of ignored. I don't think it's held up as a classic. I think time has shown it to be something that was more a product of the era that it came out in, and it's more interesting as a time capsule movie than it is as an engaging film. Or something like Roman Holiday, you would think would be a time capsule movie, as being kind of like the kickoff to what a lot of rom-coms would be. But then you watch Roman Holiday, and it's just as amazing as it ever was. You're like, oh my god, this is like as great as any rom-com's ever been, and the ending's powerful, and the acting's awesome. I haven't listened to Jack White's new album, so I can't give an opinion on that, but thank you for asking. So, that's what also watched Ali, Fear Eats the Soul from Fossbender. I watched that 3 times over the last week, which was absolutely wonderful. I think about doing a video on that movie. It's just too damn good. It might have the most devastating performance I've seen from an actress of the 70s. I mean, really, her performance is so heartbreaking in it. They're so lovable. They're such lovable characters, and it's just a good time. It really is. And it's not a good time. It's kind of tragic, but it's got this melancholy meets the German New Wave with clearly being influenced by Cirque and all that stuff. It's one of it's a fine piece of work. It really is. It's one of the great films of the 70s. It's one of the masterpieces of the 70s, for actually being fair, and it's aged so well. The thing that I watched it like 3 times in like a day and a half was just blowing me away, because I was just so engulfed by it. It was absolutely terrific. Very happy to get that Criterion. I would highly recommend it. We'll talk about Fossbender a little bit more in some other videos, and Dreyer, and some Rossellini. I've been trying to I want to kind of do a series on international cinema, so I've been watching very specific directors, getting ready to talk about some Italian films, some German films, and I'm kind of going to ignore the French, although I do want to do a video on Truffaut eventually, because I've been rewatching Day for Night again, because absolutely, I mean, and I love Jules and Jim and everything else he made, but man, Day for Night, even though it doesn't quite have the celebration of life and that almost going between fantasy and reality that 8.5 has, 8.5's just kind of perfect, that it's just pouring your soul into the artistic process. What it really means is just to lose yourself in it, and you have to hope that people don't judge you, and life's always reflecting art. Day for Night, on the other hand, just is almost this celebration of being on a set and making a movie. And those scenes where he's sleeping and having the memory where he goes to get the pictures of the Citizen Kane stuff, it's so great. And there's almost I'd even say there's a little bit of a Wells-like quality to some of the aspects of Day for Night, which is just so... God, Day for Night's so good. What's so great is that the penalty for bad taste. Oh my god, Blood Money. He's the total opposite of Bathory. Bathory, like, gives people leeway, and Blood Money's like, disagree with me? You're muted. But Day for Night is like, what I love about it is that it's gives you the behind the scenes on movies, it shows you the detail, and then I love the montage and stuff. I ripped off a lot of that for a movie I made called Second Actor in Making Movies. I literally stole those scenes where it's like music montages, the making stuff. Yes, I will be covering his films eventually. I have to kind of go down the list, I'm trying to work through, like, I'm trying to start off like German movies, and then I'm gonna go over to it like some Italian, and then I'm gonna go filmmaker by filmmaker. It's not really gonna be like I'm gonna talk all kinds of genres film. I'm gonna just focus on filmmakers I like, and then talk about 3 or 4 of their movies that I like. Probably review them a little bit, kind of like its own version of my favorite films and underrated classics. Then move on to another country and talk about that, and just get deeper and talk about some British cinema. We ignore a lot of the great films, the British films, and yeah, that's really all it is. I mean, eventually, I'd like to get to the point where I've covered everyone that's really important, but that does take a long time. But just going back to Day for Night is also that I love within the movie, there's a story that's a movie kind of being told. But what's great about the movie is the movie scenes. Whenever he's actually shooting the movie scenes, Truffaut in it, and you see the music come in and then playing it, the actors playing. It's the movie they're filming in that movie seems like a genuinely good movie. That's what I love about it. It's kind of like the opposite of Ed Wood. The movie they're making looks like it has great acting, good dialogue. The shots are really well done. You're like, man, this actually looks like this would be an entertaining, classic kind of film. and yet you're getting all this chaos from the outside on that, and all this beautiful photography and love triangles and betrayal, and everybody wants to quit at the end, and even death, that somehow, and then the movie has to be changed because of this. It's absolutely terrific. It's life as art, but it is just saying that it is a business, it is a process, it is a bunch of little pieces coming together. It is dealing with ego, but it doesn't do it in this cynical way. Day for Night is optimistic, maybe not about people and life, but it's optimistic about crews and work and art and what filmmaking is necessarily. Maybe not all artistic process. 8.5, I think what's great about it is it transcends film and just kind of becomes about everything. Day for Night, though, really is about the nooks and crannies of being a filmmaker and what that really is in a lot of ways, at least in a spiritual sense. But, I want to talk about Buñuel. I would love to talk about his films, especially. I actually think his 70s work is some of his best work, more so than a lot of his earlier work. Even though I like his earlier work, I think, Discreet Charm, Object of Desire, that stuff's absolutely terrific. I want to talk about Melville. There's so many of them out there. Herzog, but who hasn't talked about Herzog? He's kind of been discussed to death. I still think Breathless is a classic. Yeah, I don't dislike Breathless. I don't want people to think I hate Breathless. I just think it's overhyped, and I much prefer Truffaut's stuff to Goddard's. I don't, or Godard. I don't think Breathless is as good as Jules and Jim, and I don't think that it's the definitive film of the French Wave. I get how important it is, but when I watch it, it doesn't blow me away or anything like that. Oh, All That Heaven Knows I'm going to be talking about at some point as well, which I'm going to be watching here soon. But I'm really not that into Breathless. I own it. I've watched it several times, and I know people give me crap that I prefer the remake. I prefer the remake to Breathless. I think that's one of the sexiest American films ever made. I think Richard Gere, it's magnetic. I think it's got that shower sex scenes, one of the best sex scenes I've ever seen in a movie. Well, really well directed film. That was a good director. Can you please tell Dr. Mutt to not delete my comments for no reason? He has given me a 200-second delay. WTF. All right, Blood Money, stop doing that, or you're not going to get your Ben Schwifty shirt from Black Bart, which you can order right now if you go to teespring.com or if you check the description. Thank you. Anyway, back to the box office. So overall, Ready Player One, written by Zach Penn with Ernie Klein. Zach Penn apparently wrote The Avengers, but Joss Whedon said he just threw that script out. Zach Penn doesn't really have a good track record. He keeps getting hired. X-Men The Last Stand, The Incredible Hulk. I guess he's one of those guys that just can write like a David Goyer. Not that he's good. He could just sit down and get stuff down. He can get the plot points out and give it some form of structure. Yeah, Pacific Rim Uprising. Everything this guy's touching. Elektra. It's like, God, Inspector Gadget. Although PCU, gotta bring it up again. I love it. Oh, and he wrote the story to Last Action Hero. God, Zach Penn's been around forever. I don't know this guy keeps stories. He's just not that great of a writer. He's like a story guy who somehow gets all this work on these major movies. Spielberg could have benefited so much from not using Zach Penn and Ernie Klein. He should have brought in a really, really good screenwriter. Remember when the Coen brothers wrote Bridge of Spies and that was his best movie in a while? Why the hell, with all of his resources, he can't just say, hey, why can I get a... I mean, all sorts of people. He could have anyone come in and write the screenplay. He has the money for it. And he gets two guys that I would say are very mediocre to bad writers. Because really, it sounds like the biggest issue with this film is script and characterization, and that could have been fixed by hiring a better writer. As all I've read is Spielberg's direction's great, the acting's decent, especially for Mark Rylance. But it does seem to be a crowd pleaser. That 76% on Rotten Tomatoes is where a lot of Marvel films have fallen before that have become hits. So we're going to have to see what happens in the coming weeks. But 181 million worldwide, it's right under 200 million. That's a great worldwide opening. So, even if this just wrap up 350, 400 million, it's not a bomb. It's not a disaster like it could have been, like I was saying it was going to be. I thought this could be a bomb. I was worried it wasn't even going to make $100 million domestically, but where it looks right now, it looks like it could. And like I said, it has an A- cinema score. Audiences seem to be enjoying it. but that's deceived us before many times in the past. So Steven Spielberg, who was the highest grossing director of all time, if you go look his films worldwide together, and that's his unadjusted for ticket price inflation, has made 9.7 billion, 7 billion. And here's the thing, if you really think about it, if after Ready Player One, what does it say million? Because it's a billion, it's not a million. But anyway, Spielberg, after Ready Player One, he should pass the 10 mark, so that'll put him up even more at $10 billion. So Ready Player One's right now at the bottom of the list, but it should be able to pass all of the films up until, I think it's going to get shaky around 1010, and like Jaws and Last Crusade, and of course, unadjusted, so Jaws made a lot more money, obviously, if you look at, just for ticket price. But if it can reach that Saving Private Ryan 481 million, or like the War of the Worlds 5, that would be ideal. But yeah, if it stays in that $500 million range with budget and marketing, I don't know if it'll be a hit, but I definitely think it'll break even and they'll be happy with the result. Let's see what Jaws made. Well, so adjusted for ticket inflation, Jaws made $1 billion. E.T. made $1 billion. Jurassic Park made $840 million. Raiders made $800 million. Close Encounters $500 million. Temple of Doom $491 million. Lost World $458. Last Crusade $453. Saving Private Ryan $419. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull $405. War of the Worlds $335. Hook $263. Catch Me If You Can $251. Color Purple $243. Schindler's List $211. Lincoln $208. Minority Report $208. AI $127. 1941 $116. The Terminal $115 million. That is 21 films that have made over $100 million just domestically from director Steven Spielberg, when adjusted for ticket price inflation. And Ready Player One, theoretically where it's at right now, should become his 22nd film on that list to make $100 million. So, even though the BFG was a big bomb, one of the biggest bombs of his career, if we're actually being honest here, and critically didn't do well, and Warhorse did okay, Bridge of Spies and The Post did okay, Tintin actually just didn't do as well as they were hoping, and they didn't really follow up those sequels that Peter Jackson was going to make. Munich was a bomb. But Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, huge hit. War of the Worlds, huge hit. Terminal did good. Catch Me If You Can and Minority Report with both hits. So, I don't want to say this is a return to form in the sense that, this is a great Spielberg movie, but it's a return to him financially having a bigger opening weekend than all of his recent films. Like, none of them had an opening weekend in the $40-50 million range. So even though it's Spielberg and you think he'd be able to attract a little bit more, $70 million and all that, I don't think this is a bad opening weekend. And I think overall, despite them, maybe oversaturating it a little bit in the marketing and not totally getting the film story across, it seems like it's going to be a little modest hit. It might catch on, or it might be front-loaded. It's really tough to tell right now, but I will have a review out for this movie as soon as I see it, and I would also like to do a review for Isle of Dogs. I have a chance to see Ready Player One. Isle of Dogs is in limited release, so that's why it's tough for me to see it. But Ready Player One, pretty much just once I get a free day, I'm going to go see the movie. But I would love to do a review for it, and I don't know how I feel, but I know some people are just praising it, saying it's amazing, and then other people are mixed on it. So I don't know where I'm going to fall. I'm assuming I'm going to be the mixed positive type on it, but that is just an assumption. But I'm more forgiving to Spielberg than a lot of people because I'm a big Spielberg fan. I think he's an amazing filmmaker, and I don't like the blanket criticism that he's just this sentimental, generic director. I mean, Pauline Kael even just said this, how disappointed she was in the later half of his career, because she said, I loved his early work, but I think he's become a very bad director. He became a melodramatist. And at one point, his films hinted at a weirdness and more artistry, which I don't totally disagree with. If you go back to Sugarland Express, Duel, Close Encounters, Jaws, those do have something a little bit different about them. I don't even want to say grit, but there is something different about them than particularly the 80s Spielberg, 90s Spielberg era. But one thing I like about Spielberg is there is the 70s Spielberg films that are these classics that feel like 70s movies. Sugarland Express is just a terrific piece of Americana that's underrated. But then in the 80s, you have you have the Raiders, you have the E.T., and then you get that dramatic turn with Empire of the Sun, Color Purple, and stuff like that. But then you go into the 90s, and then when he starts working with Kaminsky, you get the Schindler's List aesthetic, Saving Private Ryan, this documentary, realistic approach to things. This almost a neo-realism approach to some of this stuff a little bit. But then, then he makes Amistad. It's like, and Lost World. But then he makes Jurassic Park, kind of the Jaws of his 90s. So then that's kind of the goodbye to the 80s Spielberg. Then you have the 90s Spielberg where it became, I'm going to make history films. And then you go into the 2000s and you have an even different aesthetic with Minority Report and AI that kind of how Ready Player One looks too, and then Munich. And they all kind of fall into that with the cinematography. Who, by the way, shot Jerry Maguire. And I think that's very overlooked how great the cinematography actually is to Jerry Maguire. It's really interesting. And it was a great choice when you think about it. Part of that movie, it's like a mix of Oliver Stone and Scorsese and then Cameron Crowe. It's like a bastard of all of them as directors. It has less of that Hal Ashby influence and stuff than some of his other films, or even James Brooks. It really does kind of have the energy of a Scorsese or an Oliver Stone work from the 80s and 90s. And the cinematography in that one stands out in so many ways. Even though I like every Cameron Crowe's films visually for the most part, even Elizabethtown I think is well shot. There's something really special about Jerry Maguire. I think overall it just has this polish because of that. There's the beautiful use of lighting and all that. All right, did I miss anything here? No, Marisu. All right, people, let's go to the comment of the week. So this is on my Isle of Dogs video. I thought this one would be fun. Why waste a video for such a retarded concept as cultural appropriation? Well, why make a video on anything then? Why waste time? Well, all YouTube videos are a waste of time. Why make a video of yourself playing video games? Why make a video where you sit around and just have conversations on a podcast? Why review any movie? It's all a waste of time. It's from some person's point of view. It doesn't mean it's a waste of your time. It's because everyone was criticizing Wes Anderson's film for cultural appropriation and saying that it was tone deaf and racist. So I defended it, and then I played with the title. I make it sound like it says, I love cultural appropriation, just like the movie sounds like I love dogs. But I think a lot of people did. They've been accusing me of clickbait, Iron Man is problematic, it's clickbait. It's yeah, just because I didn't add quotations doesn't necessarily make it clickbait. It's self-aware. That's part of the joke. The Isle of Cultural Appropriation one, I don't know if people didn't get that. Some people are saying, well, that makes it sound like you're saying the film, you're accusing it of. It's no, I'm making a joke about the title of the movie. But people do this all the time. They go, why do you waste your time with this? Why are you complaining? Why do you care? People hate this. It's because that's just what you do. You find something that you find interesting that's personal to you that you can discuss. And also it was a way to discuss Wes Anderson movies. It was a way to discuss that topic broadly. And it was a way to discuss art and how art doesn't really belong to anyone. All the artists that have their stuff taken from them and they don't get anything from it. There was a lot of things to be discussed in that video. It wasn't just about cultural appropriation. It was really about so much about how I feel about certain things and the responsibility of the artist and my relationship with Wes Anderson and with this recent aggression towards this attitude and this almost sickening way of discussing culture. I do love that, I'm not going to say it in Hamilton, but it is funny. Hamilton, which I know Ben Shapiro's brought this point up, but it's a bunch of black actors performing as historically white figures. They're playing, the most famous people in American history, possibly. I mean, really, it's very funny that I got an argument a few years ago. I was like, well, that's cultural appropriation. It's black actors. Like, yeah, but it's a farce, and they're making a point with that by having the actors be black. That's the whole point with the hip hop spin. It's to include them in the history of it, that they matter. And I go, okay, I can give you that, but that's everything then. That's the context. If a bunch of black Hispanic actors that can play a bunch of white historical figures, they were real people. By the way, Alexander Hamilton was real, If they can play those people, which I'm perfectly fine, they should be able to do that 100%. Okay, Hamilton's coming in Pittsburgh in January. I'm going to try to go see it, but you should be able to do that totally. But then Wes Anderson should be able to use Japanese culture any way he wants, because it's what it is. You get the it was so stupid. It's like, yeah, you idiot, it's a farce, you're trying to make a point. It's like, no, you just proved my point. Because if you're giving Hamilton leeway because you're saying, no, it's a play, that's what it is, that's what almost all of the cultural appropriation is, or the commentary. It's using it to make some kind of statement or something personal with the filmmaker. It's not just some kind of race thing. And there is that race factor to Hamilton. That's part of it. Which, once again, I'm fine with. That doesn't bother me. But you have to be open to that across the board, unless there's just some like very blatant racism, where that's what overcomes it. But don't focus on the skin color. Focus on the content. You caring about the skin color or the ethnicity, anything, the background, what country from? Why do all these white people feel the need to defend the Japanese and all that? It's like, why do you need to speak for Japan? Get over yourself. Seriously. Get over yourself. It's ridiculous. Holy crap. I thought this was like a short episode. I thought we only went an hour and a half. It's hour 46. That's the thing. When blacks do it, like Black Panther, black cast, black filmmakers, none of them are African. I mean, they're African American, but none of them are African. But that's not cultural appropriation that a white studio made that and capitalized on African culture. And once again, nobody's making that movies from Africa. I mean, technically, we're all from Africa, but it's like, it's like they're appropriating that African culture to make money. That's what they're doing. And Disney's done this before. That's what Lion King is. Even the Broadway play with the black actors playing the lion. It's not subtle. But who cares? It's funny that they can understand very basic common sense stuff with something like Hamilton or Black Panther. But they can't understand that for something like Isle of Dogs or all sorts of filmmakers, just because if a white guy does it, that's usually what it is. He doesn't understand. He's being insensitive. He's being tone deaf. No, you're tone deaf. Dr. Blood Money just... Oh, Deus. Anyone in chat know good music reviewers on YouTube? I don't actually know anyone who does good music. I mean, I like some reviewers who talk about old music, but I can't think. Anthony Fantana, I guess. The Needle Drop. Anthony Fantana here, the music's hardest working internet critic. Pat, you forgot. Baggy 2, the manliest movie ever. Is it Baggy? I haven't seen that. I know what it is, but I have never seen it. I've just, heard people talk about it on forums and stuff like that. I've given several Batman comic recommendations. Why does this question keep coming up? Oh, I did? I'm sorry, Fraser. Let me go up and look, my friend. I see McAnimation. What's your favorite season of Aqua Teen Hunger Force based? Yeah, I need to do more McAnimations. Me and Jerkfoot were like, hey, we'll do one quicker next time, and then it takes us 6 months. We did the South Park one 6 or 7 months ago. And then we did, even going back, we did the South Park one was huge. The Fantastic Planet by Renee Laloux, which is one of my favorite, maybe my favorite animated film of all time. I think it's got the best art design I've maybe ever seen. And then we go back to, I think we talked Aqua Teen, Samurai Jack, and all that. Aqua Teen, what's my favorite season? I can't think. I don't know. The third or fourth season or something like that. I mean, I don't really think of Aqua Teen in terms of seasons, really. Anthony Fantana's I don't agree. I don't think he's Chris Stuckman. I think Chris Stuckman says very boring, generic things and just kind of sits there for 8 minutes and honestly says nothing. I think Anthony Fantana's says some funny stuff, and his word use and how he describes things is much more interesting than Chris Stuckman. But I get what you mean. Would Wes Anderson ever cast Tommy Wiseau in one of his films? I would love that. I would love that so much. Oh, hi there. Hi there, Bomber. There should be a way to have a second window or a way to separate tabs and view them that way. You can. I'm just lazy. I can't set up multiple tabs and have things going. I really do need to get on that. It just... The channel hasn't. I don't think it's big enough yet to do that. How about a stream where you watch a movie with chat? I do plan on doing that. I did a live review of Death Note, but the thing was, I just recorded myself live and edited it down and uploaded it. I've been planning. Me and Blood Money at one point were supposed to do a show called Three Course Cinema, before Real Discussions became a thing, where we sit down and watch a movie live with you guys, the audience, and we do a live commentary. So that was the plan. I did plan on doing that, but perhaps I might just do one of those by myself, although I think it would be better to do it with more than one person. I love when Red Letter Media does those commentaries, and Oliver Harper does great commentaries, by the way, too. I was thinking about doing a commentary on the Collider commentary for The Last Jedi, where I make fun of what they're saying one piece at a time. But that would be some really Inception-like shit right there. Isn't it funny, Inception, the word means like the origin creation of something, but we refer to Inception now as this layered thing because of the Chris Nolan movie. When you say original movies don't keep they don't affect the pulp culture or something stays on that isn't an IP, that's not really true. Inception really got ingrained into the pulp culture as an original movie. So it shows it can be done, a-holes. I saw that one, Fraser. I don't know if I missed a second one, but I appreciate you giving me that money for him. By the way, guys, please go subscribe to Fraser Danger on here. He's absolutely amazing. He's so fun. I mean, he makes these really funny videos. He's got a Mitch Hedberg like voice. He looks like the most like stoner surfer guy ever. He's a total shitlord. He stands in front of green screens and he does the most cringe like stuff, and I love it, and he's great. And I don't know why more people don't watch his stuff. He's really great. No, I agree. Oliver Harper's very underrated. His retrospective videos, I like how they're put together. I just know all the info he's telling me. But those commentaries are good, and his reviews are good. They're actually pretty good reviewers. But I would love to do a commentary on the commentary. But yeah, I could do that because it was supposed to be in Blood Money. But maybe I could just bring random guests in to do different commentaries. Like, okay, we're gonna talk about Halloween tonight. Okay, we're gonna talk about what have you, The Last Starfighter. We'll do a Last Starfighter commentary. We'll do a Explorers Frasier. It's he's in the chat. It's I think it's Fraser, Frazier. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, baby toss salad and scrambled eggs. They're calling again. Scrambled eggs all over my face. Dun, dun, dun. Why do content makers and critics praise a bad film that's original and highlight originality and overlook the flaws that make them bad, like Chris Stuxman review of the Book of Henry? I don't know. They seem to think that originality in itself is the thing. I mean, Oliver Harper has like 80,000 subscribers, but he's one of those channels that I think deserves more, 150. And he knows a lot more. If you actually ever talk, he knows his shit. He knows his history. It's very knowledgeable. I mean, I felt that way about Rob Ager for years. Rob Ager, he's absolutely terrific, and I think he should have been. I think he should be like the biggest commentary essay channel on here, and he's not, even though he does really well. Oh yeah, I would love to talk about The Last Starfighter. I think that would be a great commentary. Random movies like that would be fun. Brain Damage by Henenlotter. I'm also thinking about bringing guests on. I think I would be able to get the lead actor from Basket Case to come on in an interview. I actually met him at a few festivals, and he agreed to come on a podcast years ago, but I never got around to it. And I know this sounds crazy. I think I could possibly get Brian O'Halloran to come on a podcast too. So that would be pretty amazing too. Hey Pat, you think you'll do a Daft Punk retrospective like Razorfest does his Metal Mythos videos? I would like to do that. I would like to do one on Kanye West and every single Kanye West album, and explain how great he is. But that's something that I would have to take a lot of time on. I want to cover each video would be a different Kanye album. We would start with College Dropout and work our way up to Life of Pablo. Each video would be about an hour long, and it would feature every track, all of the drama that was going on at the time at the time with Kanye, and just. Yeah, I would love to talk. Yeah, the lead guy from Basket Case, Kevin. I met him at a film festival like years ago, and we hung out the whole weekend. We really liked him. Then we exchanged emails and stuff, and he signed my DVD. But he's still like Facebook friends with me, and we still talk and stuff. And he's talked to me. I actually showed him James Rolfe's Basket Case review, and I was like, I could get. That's the thing. I didn't think about that to go out and try to get these people because they're not like A-listers. They're not even like C-listers. They're people that would come on, and I would love to talk to him about Frank Henenlotter. I'd love to just sit there for an hour and ask him questions about Frank, because I'm probably not going to get the Frank Henenlotter interview, but I could talk to one of his actors. And Brian O'Halloran, when I was hanging out, I'm a big hip-hop rap fan, big time. When I was talking to Brian O'Halloran for the week, he told me a lot of stuff about Kevin Smith that I won't share here. He told me some private stuff about Kevin Smith. And I would love to have him come on and talk about when they made Clerks and Clerks 2 and his relationship with Kevin, because even though they're friends, they kind of had a little bit of a falling out from what I could tell. And I would love to, yeah, it's still the first of, I'm not April Fooling you guys. This is true. I do. These aren't like, it's not like, oh, wow, you met Brian O'Halloran at a film fest. That's not that crazy. But I would love to get those guys on. And a lot of guys like that. I think I could get a lot of guys that are, it's even crazy. I feel like I could get Sam Witwer, even though he kind of blew up with the whole Collider thing. But I feel like I could have got him at one point. I hung out with him for a couple days once at a Comic-Con a few years ago, and that was pretty cool. Like, the nicest dude ever, Sam Witwer. He's so nice. Yeah, just kind of get small-time guys like that, but I think I could do good interviews with them and really find out. I would just love to talk about Henenlotter, though. I'd love to ask about Basket Case. I already kind of, like, just interrogated him with tons of questions, but I would love to... we could sit down and really plan what we want to do and go through it. Maybe get Beverly Bonner in there as well. So did you see God's Not Dead 3? No, I went on a whole rant about that, how disappointed I am that I didn't get to see that. But, alright guys, I have a big announcement here. Clerks the Animated Series is amazing and I own the DVD. I have a big announcement here. This is officially the last episode of Box Office Addict. I'm done. My goal was always to do 37 because that's my favorite number. And I know I talked about reaching 40 and 50, but it just, I don't know, where the channel's going, I think more live streams and commentary and, doing the DVD commentary and the interviews and the podcasts and stuff like that. I think that's more of where the channel needs to go and focus less on this going back and forth to the chat. And I think it needs, and I think the analytical side of the box office, I don't know how much that's appealing to people. Maybe it's got a little boring or something for some people. And, I'm already selling out. I'm trying to sell these t-shirts. And I don't know, you guys seem upset about this. I don't know. I've become the thing I am. I'm a sellout. I started a show that was supposed to be a box office show. I'm not shutting down the channel. I'm just saying that this is the last episode of Box Office Addict. I'm not saying I'm shutting down the channel, but it's with the shirts. It's just not really worth it anymore. I'm glad. Yeah, I've always I thought I would love it because I used to love talking about the box office, but now it's become kind of like I've kind of lost my passion to just talk about it. I used to have fun looking at it. Now it just feels like work. And now, just going through it, even today, I was just so bored going through all these movies. I'm tired. I got to do this every Sunday, 37 weeks. I haven't missed one. It's been really inconvenient. And to be quite frank, you guys are all jerks. I really don't like any of you. Like, at all. And I think it's time to move on to greater adventures. I think it's time to focus on my podcasts and my interviews and my long form stuff. I think it's time to grow up and mature. I think we had a fun 37 weeks, and I think it's a good place to stop. And that's how I feel, but that's fine. That's fine. So this is the end, my friends, and that's all I gotta say. So I'll play you guys out the shark foot music, and I would say I appreciate all of you guys watching these last few weeks, but I really don't care. Okay, folks? Alright? Okay? Alright? It's over, folks. It's over, gang. It's no longer economically beneficial for me to do this, gang. Okay? So, yeah, Ben Shapiro will take over. So for all that super chat, thank you. Thank you very much. And, this is the end, my friends, as Jim Morrison once said. Okay, folks? Alright? Oh, yeah, you and Fallen are having that wedding. That's so cute. It it could be Disney. Disney could be behind this. So you guys won't see me here next week. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. All right, well, that's it for the final episode of Box Office Addict. Yeah, there might be a welcome to Ben Shapiro Addict, folks. All right, we're just going to talk about the economy. We're going to talk about why socialism doesn't work, gang. Okay? This is my first Box Office Addict I actually tuned into live, and it's the last. I know, David, I'm so sorry. I really am. I really am, my friend. That's it.